So before we talk about isotopes and ions, I think we should talk about the basic structure of an atoms and see what proton number and nucleon numbers are. एक atom is made up of a nucleus that is surrounded by a sea of electrons which are located in different shells in pairs. The nucleus itself is a cluster of protons and neutrons. So the number of protons in an atom is called the proton number. और एक एटम का प्रोटॉन नंबर दूसरे एटम से डिफरेंट होता है. So it can be easily used to identify an element or an atom in the periodic table. For example, there are 11 protons in sodium. The atom that is right next to sodium has 12 protons. And so once that happens, we instantly know कि 12 protons वाला जो एटम है वो मैग्नीशियम है, 11 वाला सोडियम है, उससे नेक्स्ट एल्यूमिनियम, उसके पास 15 प्रोटॉन्स. The number of protons and neutrons in an atom is called the nucleon number. तो जब हम सोडियम की बात करते हैं तो उसके पास 12 न्यूट्रॉन्स हैं, जिसकी वजह से राइट सोडियम, तो this is how the symbol of sodium is represented in the periodic table. एक और एग्जांपल हम ऑक्सीजन की ले सकते हैं जिसके पास 8 प्रोटॉन्स और 8 ही न्यूट्रॉन्स हैं. Now, once we have established that, let's talk about electrons. Electrons are also fundamental particles that revolve around the nucleus and are free to move around it. Electrons mass और size में both protons और neutrons से बहुत कम होते हैं. And so all particles in an atom are very light. So their mass is measured not in grams but in atomic mass units. Just because they're very light, and we can't do that in grams. Now, ideally, एक एटम के अंदर उतने ही इलेक्ट्रॉन्स होते हैं जितने उसके पास प्रोटॉन्स होते हैं. लेकिन this is where the concept of ion comes in. अगर किसी एटम के पास different numbers of electrons हैं compared to the protons, that atom will either have a positive or a negative charge. It is simple mathematics. अगर आपके पास 4 negative charges हैं और 4 ही positive charges हैं, तो they will cancel out and the product will be neutral, and so an atom is neutral. However, an ion is a charged particle because it has either more or less electrons than the protons. अगर उसके पास electrons ज़्यादा हैं, तो the number of negative charges would be greater. Why? Because electrons are negatively charged and protons are positively charged, whereas the neutrons are neutral. तो अगर किसी के पास ज्यादा प्रोटॉन न्यूट्रॉन्स आ गए तो उसका जो ओवरऑल नेट चार्ज होगा it would be negative. Often we use Cl minus and Na plus when there are less electrons as compared to the protons. Let's go back to the idea of isotopes and free radicals. Remember when we were talking about Cl35 and Cl37? 35 and 37 are nucleon numbers of chlorine. Now, these are both atoms of the same element, chlorine, with the same proton number. However, they have a different nucleon number. Why? इसकी रीजन ये है न्यूक्लियन नंबर्स के ज्यादा होने की कि अगर प्रोटॉन सेम है तो ऑब्वियसली अगर न्यूक्लियन नंबर डिफरेंट है, न्यूक्लियन नंबर इज मेड अप ऑफ प्रोटॉन्स एंड न्यूट्रॉन्स, तो इसकी क्लियर रीजन ये है कि इट हैज डिफरेंट नंबर ऑफ न्यूट्रॉन्स. This is what we call an isotope. Cl35 and Cl37 are both isotopes of chlorine. An element exists as a mixture of different isotopes. A free radical is a substance that has an unpaired electron. Remember, when we talked about the shells here, I told you guys that they are in pairs, whereas the free radical has an unpaired electron, which makes it highly reactive as compared to an atom. In the next lecture, we will talk about mole and Avogadro's number.